Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. Got a lot of questions yesterday about the scratch on my forehead. Nothing crazy, was lying on the couch, and my 2-year-old and 4-year-old came and started jumping on me. And at the end of it, I somehow had a scratch. So who knows what caused it, but still love my kids. But yeah, that was what caused that. You know, today wasn't a huge news day, but there was a massive sale from a Marat Pak piece. So we'll talk about that. Also some more news from the Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem and just more in NFTs. Let's get right into it. Starting off with a quick market overview. Kind of volume is still in that range that we have been in. 80% of the volume was with Blur, so serious market share on Blur, but it wasn't the good kind of volume. This chart looks at the percentage of ETH volume that was sellers dumping NFTs into bids, and it was over 80% over the past 7 days. We really haven't had a 7-day period above 80%, aside from the post-elementals kind of down crash that we had. So other than post-elementals, this is about as high as this ratio has ever been. So just a lot of people still selling into bids. People asked which projects kind of had caused this the most, and it was pretty widespread. But you know, Bored Ape Yacht Club, 90% of the volume has been sellers dumping into bids. Milady, 90% as well. You know, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, 89%. Rap CryptoPunks, 89%. So if you look at the high volume projects, you know, the majority has been sellers dumping into bids. A little bit less so on heavy metal, potatoes, a little pudgy. Some of the projects that don't do quite as much volume or don't have quite as much bidder incentive on the right there. One thing I wanted to look at is what has been the impact. Like Blur has quietly kind of gone from 0.5% to 0% royalty. A lot of the top projects are now 0% royalty instead of 0.5%. I did tweet about it, and Pac-Man mentioned that it was related to something with X2Y2 where the projects had not configured their royalties on X2Y2 or something like that. So we'll see if it changes over time. But I think that the results here, what you can see is that over the past week, Blur has paid less than 200 ETH in total royalties. That is the lowest that number has been since basically in all of 2023. Interestingly, they're paying less royalties than OpenSea, even though OpenSea is doing about 1/5 as much volume as Blur is. If you look at the ratio of royalties paid out by OpenSea to royalties paid out by Blur, you can see that Blur is now less than 50% of OpenSea. This is, again, the first time that ratio has ever been so low. Looking at the large cap index, kind of on the back of all this, large cap index was down, had some weakness in Azuki, weakness in Doodles, Cool Cats, Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem also quite weak. Mid cap index was down a small bit as well, not too much, but we did have some strength in Rec Guy up 29%. You know, so nice little jump up for them. In terms of art projects, a bit of volume. 5 projects did more than 10 ETH of volume. A beautiful Fidenza sold for 80 WETH. I was actually looking at the Fidenza, and I'm not really in the market for Fidenza, but I really thought that one was quite cool. It was listed above 100, and then the seller just took a bid at 80 WETH. We had a Gazer for 11 WETH sell. You know, Gazers have kind of been in this 11 to 20 range, so this is really at the low end of the Gazers range. Not the most liquid NFT, but a sale there. Had a Meridian, really nice Meridian here, sell for 10 ETH. This is well above the floor, so congrats to parties involved there. And then a Anti-Cyclone sold for 5.5 WETH, and a couple other art blocks sold. This was a pretty big day for art blocks. Second thing to talk about, Yuga launches Made by Apes. And this is something we've known about, but it has now officially launched. Here is the tweet from Bored Ape Yacht Club, basically saying you can go to madeby.yuga.com/apes to request a license. Diving into what this all is, it's basically a licensing platform for Bored Ape Yacht Club and Mutant Ape Yacht Club holders. Apes can request a license, register the business or the product, and receive a unique license number on the Made by Apes platform. Community contributions can now be recognized and authenticated on chain. So you know that these businesses or projects or products are truly members who are owners of Bored Ape Yacht Club or Mutant Ape Yacht Club NFTs. And the Bored Ape Yacht Club plans to launch the Bodega soon, which will be basically a platform which will display all active Made by Apes licenses. And they launched a whole bunch of launch partners who are launching with them. Just to highlight a few, one is called Ape Beverages, which is a spring water with Bored Ape on the can. Cool stuff there. Here's another project which basically connects brand with entertainment branding, or brands in the entertainment space to Web3 properties like Apes. So another kind of cool project there. Mutant Grapes, which is kind of a interesting thing. Looks like it is related in some way to the wine industry. And then here's Spirit Punks, the original Web3 community inspired spirits. So really kind of looking at all the different businesses and projects that are linking their IP to various NFTs. My basic take on this, I think, and this is one of my views, I'm not sure if this is controversial, and I think it's pretty clear at this point, that the single biggest use case for NFTs that we have seen that has led to a ton of value creation has been collectability. It's been the flex factor. It's been people wanting to build collections. And I think right now we're starting to see a lot of projects saying collectability is interesting, but it's hard to achieve over time. And we need to do a whole lot more in order to maintain value over time. They're moving into new lines of value. And I think here the apes are saying we want to be kind of a business community as well that supports each other. And the good thing is that I think it is harder for some of these lines, like being a business club, to really make sense at the price point that we were at. But as prices are getting lower, I think you're seeing it makes a little bit more sense. Some of these NFTs look more interesting to buy, to be part of the various kinds of utility that are being added by the project. So we will see how that goes on. Also, one other announcement from Bored Ape Yacht Club basically said that tickets are going on sale for Ape Fest July 26th, which is tomorrow. I'm going to do everything I can to be at Ape Fest. As you know, I lived in Hong Kong for a long time. Plan to spend a couple months there this year. So we're going to try to work it around Ape Fest so I can make it to that. Would be awesome. Third thing to talk about, let's talk about some notable sales, starting off with an 88.88 ETH sale on Super Rare of this piece called Legend by Murat Pak. Murat Pak is a very interesting anonymous character who I could kind of do a whole show about, but just to give a little bit of background. First, let's talk about this sale. This piece was sold to Seed Phrase in February of 2021. So it's been almost 2.5 years since the first sale of this piece, Legend. When it was sold, it was at the time the highest sale ever on Super Rare. Here you can see Super Rare tweeting back in February 14th, 2021. Massive congrats to Murat Pak, who just broke the all-time US dollar sale record on Super Rare, 96.8 ETH at the time for Legend. Congrats to Seed Phrase for winning this hard-fought battle. And here's a tweet from Seed Phrase at the time. It was hard fought, but I managed to claim my first POC 1 of 1. And the buyer here, I believe, is a guy named Whale Shark. The wallet was called Whale Shark. It's not entirely clear that they're the same, but there is someone called Whale Shark who became a huge collector of POC very early on. So it's not too surprising to see that as the most recent buyer of this piece. Just digging a little bit into Murat Pak. Murat Pak's kind of controversial because he made so much money through his NFT sales and then fell off the radar screen a little bit, though he has been tweeting a fair bit recently. Just to dive into it a little bit, he's an anonymous artist. There's some kind of links that suggest possible connection to Turkey, but a lot unknown. His art really is minimalist and kind of mysterious at some level. His biggest sale was for over $50 million. It was a piece that sold for 16,593 ETH. I believe the second most expensive piece other than the Beeple sale. He also had a project called Merge, which generated almost $92 million in sales and had some of the more crazy, bizarre sales, I'd say, in the history of NFTs. One sold a piece which was just a single gray pixel, which sold for $1.35 million and sold on Sotheby's. You can see a tweet there in the lower right by the Defiant, the news source. So a lot of really interesting stuff. And like I said, a pretty controversial person to have such big sales and then to not remain quite as present on the scene, but still, comes up today with an 88.88 ETH sale, not that much lower in ETH terms than the price that was paid 2.5 years ago. So that's that. But congrats to everyone involved there for sure. Let's talk about this Ordinal Punk. Inscription number 583 sold for 2 Bitcoin, 31.4 ETH. Remember when Ordinal Punks were all the rage, were kind of the lowest inscription ordinals you could get. Well, here they're reappearing. This was the first sale in over a month. If you look at the other most recent sales, though, they've been at 2.75 Bitcoin, 2.95 Bitcoin, 3.35 Bitcoin. And then here in the lower right was one that sold for 1.55 Bitcoin. So 2 Bitcoin is certainly at the low end of the range, but we have seen lower. We haven't seen anything this low, though, in a couple of months. Interesting to see that. Ordinals in general have been pretty low volume recently. Tyler from Lucky Trader has been tweeting about that a whole lot. Another art sale to talk about, this piece, Come Forward by OsinachiArt, sold for 7.5 ETH. It is an animation. Always we're seeing the animation, but I did put a few of those frames on there so you can see how the subject of this piece dances. It was Vincent Van Gogh who bought this NFT really really cool piece. This artist has had a lot of sales, really prolific artist, and a very signature look and feel. A lot of them have just a small bit of animation. So again, you got to check it out. Really awesome stuff. And here are a bunch of the sales, kind of in that 10 to 30 ETH range. There are a lot more just as high. I just kind of picked some that I thought were quite interesting. And he was at the Christie's auction that I was at. I didn't get the chance to meet him, but he was a speaker there as well. He, on his bio, claims to be Africa's first and foremost crypto artist, rocking the NFT space since 2017. So congrats to the artist as well as to VVD on that sale. And then one last piece to talk about, Rainbow Geisha by Android Jones sold for 3.82 ETH. In the description, it says this was digitally painted using a combination of Photoshop, Corel Painter, and ZBrush. The image was projected onto the Sydney Opera House in 2011. So very cool stuff. The artist's name is Andrew. He is from Colorado. In his bio, really cool picture on that website of him. He says, I have seen things in this life that I'm incapable of translating into words. In my practice, I've visited realms where the imagination ends and the terrifying beauty of infinity unfolds. I don't know why I make this art or what compels me to keep creating it. It's a mystery I tend to pursue for the rest of my life. And each image brings me closer to the ultimate truth. So interesting stuff here. Congrats to the artists and the buyer on that sale. That is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, give us a like below. Tell us what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and subscribe to our Telegram group. Telegram is the best way to get daily updates when we release the show. The link is in the comments below. We will talk to you soon. Have a great day.